It's unreal, man. I thank you, Ricky, for your time.
Oh,
we
yeah.
have the
Thanks for
2023 Daytona 500 winner on our podcast, man. Shane, I think we're doing something right.
We're stepping outside of Moto for the first time, which is good.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
I'm stoked, man. You went and checked the track today?
Yeah, the track looks good. I mean, I have no expertise in riding, but I mean, it looks fun. So there's a lot of sections they had to build up because you go over the walls. So like the walls on the drag strip,
yeah,
like you can't take them out. So like they had to build dirt over top of them. So
I thought you were talking about literal wall jumps.
Well, there is one.
There is one.
I heard you got in the skiddy.
Yeah, I made on the left hand starting lane. There might be a little, just a speed bump.
I like it.
I mean, it wasn't much, but it would upset the guys on the left hand side.
Hold on, you can't say you have no dirt bike experience because you do have dirt bike experience.
I didn't say I didn't have dirt bike experience, but
tell Adam about your arena cross days.
Yeah, let's hear about this.
Dude, I was trying to find my results.
He was telling Mewey about this today too.
Yeah, so I grew up. I'll go back. When I was 5 years old, I got my first dirt bike. I was 4, and then I raced BMX. And my dad always rode dirt bikes, and so when I was 5 years old, my dad took me. There was a track in Memphis. I grew up right south of Memphis in Mississippi, and there was a dirt go-kart track and then like a supercross track. And we spent half the day on the supercross track, half the day on the go-kart track. And then at the end of the day, Dad goes, "Which one do you want to race?" And I picked the go-kart. No way. Yeah, I picked the go-kart. But we always rode dirt bikes. So far, so good, yeah. I think I'm 35 now, so my career will be about over if I'd have picked dirt bikes.
Unless you're Justin Brayton.
True. But yeah, no, so I rode dirt bikes my whole life. Like we would race, my dad would race on Friday nights, I would race on Saturdays, and then we would go to church Sunday morning, and we did a lot of woods riding and stuff growing up. And we did that every Sunday. That was our weekend. And then, awesome. So arena cross started coming, to Memphis, and I would run some arena cross races. This one particular time did not go well. I started on the back gate. I had not jumped the finish line jump. Like I went to some motocross tracks and hit some like decent sized jumps.
Just
and
not
stuff.
A catapult.
Just not a catapult. And so I remember it. I feel like pretty clearly, like I could be totally wrong, but like it was go down and you turn left, and it like almost had like a little whoop section right off the bat, and then it was a right hander into the finish line. And I started back row, and these two kids that ran for Suzuki back then, this had to be like 2000, 2001.
How old were you?
I was on a 80. I'd have been 12 or 13.
Okay.
Something like that. And so they were in front of me. Like I started back row, and somehow coming out of the first corner, I was third after the whoops. And I was like,
that's some steward shit.
I was like, oh, here we go. And so I just sent it, and I crashed. And
did you frame it?
No, just like somehow I ended up like Supermaning off the back of this thing.
No way.
Was that it? Did you just retire after that?
No, so I landed, and then like my dad ran over there, got my bike up, and I finished. But like I feel like I don't recall any of that. And then like Sundays they would always, like that was on the Friday night or Saturday night show. And then like Sundays they would like do the full on amateurs where I really should have been riding. And I did not go to that. I think I laid on my trampoline. My tailbone hurt so bad.
So when did cars kind of take over and you kind of sold the bikes and?
I mean, I still got bikes, and I used to do a lot of trail riding here in North Carolina. It was fun.
Yeah, but you have a lot around here.
Yeah, especially up like in the mountains, was really fun. But I haven't really done that in probably 5 or 6 years. But I mean, I stayed riding dirt bikes until like solidly every weekend, probably till I was 16, 17-ish. So like even when I was racing full-size dirt cars, I would still, go ride dirt bikes and stuff.
So who's your guy? And me excluded, obviously.
You exclude. So actually,
because I see you're very. I've seen you around. I mean, you've been kind of in and around the sport since I've been professional.
Yeah. I would say I did some. I can't remember how I got connected, but like Ryan and I got to be friends, Dungy, when he was riding. So that's when I went to a lot of races. And then, you know, like some of his crew guys, like Frankie, he was a big like sprint car guy and like dirt track guy. And so I got to know him. And then Carlos was always super cool. So I just kind of gravitated, you know, towards them and hung out with them. But, you know, when I was watching, McGrath was just like the guy, right? Like I would get the chaparral books with him on the front of it or whatever, and I would go through there and circle. Like I had a YZ80, and so like I would circle everything that I could. Like, hey, Dad, I want this. I want, you know, like. But yeah, that was my childhood. I loved dirt bikes, and I was just very average at it. But I felt like I was decent trail riding.
Shane, how is your ability on a dirt bike? Where are
there's
we
a
at?
reason. There's a reason why I do this stuff. I'll just say that.
But you did have, like, you rode and did you race?
No, I never raced. Like my parents were really never into it. So I didn't get my first dirt bike until I was probably 15. So kind of a late start to it. But I never raced.
You never tried to race?
No. Honestly, I had like a really bad concussion like after like my first like bad crash. And after that, I was like, yeah, not really.
It's not it.
I'll just.
Who, like, how'd you get, like, if your parents weren't into it, like, how did, like, my dad, like,
just being around it,
was always on dirt bikes, like, when he was a kid. And so, like, I feel like that's how I got into it. But, like,
dude, I didn't go to my first Supercross race until 2010.
No way.
So, yeah, like, me and my buddy got into it, who actually works on the track.
I'm not going to lie, I thought you started Supercross.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I just assumed.
No, dude, like, I literally, first race 2010, my buddy Cole, me and him got really heavy into it and just started following it. And I was like, I want to be involved in this somehow. And obviously racing wasn't going to be the way to get into it. Right. So yeah, that's.
And now we go to the track and everybody knows Shane.
That's kind of crazy.
Like you wanted to get into it. Now like you run it.
Yeah, I told the story before, but I always see during my rookie year, I was a bit explosive sometimes off the track, and it seems like the Supercross Live social media channel
just telling him.
Just always
just threw you under the bus.
Yeah, every time, man. It's something I could be hitting some quad 3 over the tabletop in practice, but if I stalled the bike in a turn, I felt like it was on front page news. So Shane was kind of he was just the enemy.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel
you have to go with the engagement.
You have to.
I
get it. Have to. Is it that way in NASCAR too? Like, do you get mad at the social people when they like post someone crashing, or if you've crashed before?
No, I don't care.
Do you even look at it?
I mean, I see it, but like, I mean, mainly I see it because people comment on it and then like will tag you in it or like you know it's bad when like if the series will post it but like not tag you. You know, I'm sure you do that.
I have that debate with myself because sometimes like when like Adam was saying in his rookie year, if it keeps happening, it's like, man, like I really don't want to tag this guy because it's like I don't want him to see it and be like, man, exactly what Adam thinks, right? But
but at the same time, when I'm thinking those thoughts, I understand you have it. They're immature, irrational emotions that are just natural because we're human beings. Nothing too personal, but
Shane tried to get me to. He tried to do my social media for like 2 or 3 years.
Didn't want to do it. So why did you not want to do it?
No, because I'm cheap.
Didn't want to spend the money.
Yeah, I'm cheap.
Respect.
Do you? I'm cheap.
Me too, man. Do you run your own stuff now?
I did. No, Shane does.
No, we do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're back.
Yeah. No, so what he's saying is, so when I first met him in 2017, I wasn't even really like doing to this extent, right? I was just doing stuff with Supercross, and I met him. He came to Phoenix Supercross. Andy Boyer was like, "Hey, Ricky's coming." I didn't even watch NASCAR at all, when I was a kid a little bit, but like I didn't even know anything about NASCAR. So of course Andy's like, okay, he's not gonna like bother him, right? So because he tells me, and then I just kind of took him around a little bit. Made sure he was all good, and then just stayed in touch every once in a while after that.
Yeah. He's
kept saying, hey, let us help you.
Yeah, let me help you. Let me do your social. And I was never massive on social. Like, I didn't do a ton. Like, I would think, like, it'd be Tuesday or Wednesday before I get a recap out. Like, you know, like,
yeah. It's
the
hard.
day would go by, and I'm like, I'll get it tomorrow. And then, like, then I'd need to post something else. And so, dude, it's so much nicer having Shane just handle it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think social for me, growing up, I'm just a bit of a goofy dude, and I like to do different stuff. So I I had some cool creative content, but I felt like
your DC shoes.
Yeah,
YouTube.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
I showed Shane that. He never has seen that.
No way.
I'd never seen it. It was funny.
Yeah, but I'm like, and I think a lot of us professional athletes have kind of an obsessive personality. And if I'm doing social media, I feel like I either need to be all in or out, you know. And I've always gone through phases in social before I hired you guys where I would be on there into it, checking it way too much and doing everything. And then I just like wouldn't post for like 4 months. And the Facebook algorithm is just terrible now, man. You don't post for a while and it's over.
That's probably how he would be. That's probably how you would be.
No, that's I would same thing. Like I would be all in. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do this. Send out some cool videos here and there. I feel like I got pictures on my phone that like, oh, I was supposed to post that, you know, and I never do.
Yeah, you just go and you shit the bed one weekend and you just like these guys. I don't need to explain myself to anybody,
dude. Yeah.
Was Roush ever like back then, like when social was kind of like first popping off? Were they ever telling you to like be better on social? Like early, you know, 12,
no, because
13,
I
14?
feel like back when I first started doing it, like nobody really knew. Like they were still sending out, you know, press releases, like typed up press releases. You know, like it was still kind of halfway.
I think it's still kind of like that in NASCAR though. Like
they for sure send out some like press releases.
No, the teams do. I'm saying like I feel like the drivers don't do as much.
I think some do, but if they hire somebody like you guys,
they're not doing
like,
it themselves.
No.
Yeah.
There's some younger guys that like really go all in. I mean, because that's how they get a lot of their sponsorship, you know, like just blow on some social media, which I respect, but like I'm not gonna spend that much time doing that. Yeah.
Respect. Switching gears for obviously our mainly motocross audience, I kind of just want to get an overview on your career, where you're at now, how the year's going, and whatever you can fit into this allotted time frame.
A lot of time frame?
What is it, like normally an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're 13 minutes.
Only 13 minutes. And we got plenty of time.
So how was the, like, explain your path here? Because I think for me, obviously being more of a casual NASCAR fan, I look and I see, obviously you, in your time it was a nationwide series, and there's a few different kind of avenues to get there. And what was your path like? Yeah.
So obviously, you know, at 5 I picked go-kart racing. So we went all in. I go-kart raced till I was 15. And then my dad was racing sprint cars, like full-size dirt cars. And then at 15 is when I started racing full-size dirt cars. And the ones that I was racing most of the time were, you know, say 750 horsepower. They weigh 1,450 pounds. So I would do that, you know, started doing that in 2013. Graduated high school in 2006. And I moved to Indianapolis in 2007, and I started racing for Tony Stewart and his sprint car team. And I was like, sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, I'm getting paid. I bugged Tony forever to race his sprint cars, and finally I had the opportunity. And then fast forward, like before the end of the year was up, I ended up signing my contract with Roush Fenway Racing to come over here and race stock cars. And I had never ran really much asphalt. But Tony kind of helped with that, and there were some other factors in there. But then I moved here in 2008, and I ran the ARCA series for 1 year. And then 2009 was a year that only ran 7 asphalt races, so that I could still be a rookie for 2010 in the Nationwide Series. And so I did a lot of dirt racing. And then
how does that translate? Like, are people that are normally good on dirt good on asphalt, or?
I will say
explain it to me like I'm 5.
Most of the time you wouldn't want to go the opposite. Okay. Like you wouldn't want to go from asphalt racing to dirt racing. I mean, not everything, you know, just correlates over. But I will say, like, dirt racing, you know, I don't know how the different like street bikes are versus like supercross bikes, but like cornering, right? Like I would assume yours are a lot looser, like less grip.
Yeah.
You know, when you're
more
cornering,
feel.
right?
Yeah.
And you work a lot with the throttle. And that's like dirt racing for us, is the track's always changing. You know, you could run the same line, 2 or 3 laps in a row, and then all of a sudden you might need to run a different line. In asphalt racing, it's all pretty much like, here's the line, you run it, and that's the fastest line. But I would say car control is what you learn in dirt racing a lot.
What about setting the car up?
Most drivers just let the crew handle that.
Okay.
Like sprint car racing and stuff, like I feel like I knew a lot, but there's so much that goes on like in cup racing.
And is that all based off of like just data from the engineers and stuff?
A lot of it, yeah. But so when I moved here in 2008, like I would go to the shop every day and I'd like try and work on the cars, and like they're like, hey, we have people that do that. Like you don't.
You're trying to grassroots it.
I'm like, dude, like what else am I supposed to do during the day? Like I worked out for an hour and then now I have nothing to do. Yeah, I was 19, and I'm like, dude, I'm coming to the shop. And so I did that for a long time. And I felt like I learned a lot about the cars, but it's still like, you still need an engineering degree to set these things up.
Right.
So, now I just go hang out and bless them with my presence. But, so that was 2010. I ran my rookie year of the Nationwide Series. And then 2011, 2012, we won the championship. And then I started running Cup in 2013.
Okay.
And my Roush contract went through 2019. It was a long contract. I don't know how your amateur stuff is, but I assume it's similar.
It depends. I think I signed a professional contract with Pro Circuit when I was 14, but at the time, so I think that was 2011, and at the time that was kind of a new thing, I would say. Yeah. Now it's
how
all
long
over the
was
place.
That?
Shoot, I think it took me into my first 2 years as a pro.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that was that was a good time.
So I signed mine.
That long-term deal.
I signed mine in October of 2007. Wow. It went through 2019.
And so they scouted you in you were racing
like dirt track.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they could tell enough from dirt track, obviously, to
And I had just got an agent like the year before that kind of helped facilitate kind of all of that. Again, the agents that I had, like they were on me for like 2 years before I ever did anything. And finally I did, and it like all paid off. I was like, oh wow, this is sick. And so, I went to Cup in 2013, ran with Roush until 2019. And then I switched over to JTG Doherty Racing in 2020, which was a weird time to switch. Cause like, nobody. And then we ran 4 races and then it was like lockdown.
I have a question for people that maybe don't follow NASCAR. You got your first Cup Series win, 2 of them in the same year, actually, in 2017.
Talladega, first win?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the difficulty of going? Because in our sport, you win a 250 title. For you, it's nationwide or whatever it was back then. You're like expected to win right away in the 450 class. So why is it more difficult to adjust in the Cup Series?
Well, it's
for most guys.
A lot of it is kind of team related. Like the cars make up a big difference in our sport. And so I feel like when I was at Roush, when I was first there, like 2012 was our second championship. One of our Cup guys was going for the Cup title and actually tied in points and lost in 2012. And then 2013, my first year in Cup, we were fast, had some poles, had a few opportunities to win that just kind of slipped away. And then like 14 and 15, like we just kind of were on a downhill slide, and even the veterans at our team struggled. And so, equipment has a lot to do with it in our sport more than one would want.
Because what I was going to ask you is, when I watch, obviously when I don't have a professional eye for it, but can you see like for F1 for me, for example, right? It's hard for me to tell how much better Max Verstappen is than George Russell because they're normally on such different equipment. Can you look at a guy that's in a bad car and see things that he's doing
for
and
sure.
be like, that guy could be good if he had a good car?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. And I feel like that's what a lot of teams do, right? And they're like, hey, like this guy's getting a lot out of his equipment that he has. And so, like, no matter what situation you're in our sport, as long as you, like, go in with the mindset of, hey, I'm going to get the most out of this equipment. Like, I don't have to win.
Right.
But like if this team, normally averages a 20th place finish and I can take it to a 15th or, whatever the number is.
It's kind of how you have to be,
the
right?
teams see that, right? And they are like, oh, wow, that guy's, he's doing a good job. And then, that's kind of how it goes.
So what is out of curiosity, what are the things that make up a great racing driver in your discipline specifically?
I would say,
I know it's
a
tough question,
because like there's a lot of drivers that are completely different, right? But I would say somebody that obviously can fill a race car and give the good feedback,
right?
Is critical for your guys to really understand what you need in your car to go fast. Because all of us have different feels, and like you go to a big 4-car team. You could have two teammates battling for the win, but have totally different setups, because they drive different. So I would say one of the biggest thing is just giving that feedback of what you need to go fast. And then, again, just working with the team, like, and just being confident with it. Cause like, there's a lot of guys that I feel like sometimes will talk too much.
Yeah.
And say,
we have that in our sport as well.
This does this, or, I need this shock. This shock did this. But if you I feel like for me, I was always one, like, if I didn't know, I'm like,
yeah, you just got to throw it up.
If y'all can look at the data and tell me which one's better, that's fine. But like, I couldn't tell a difference.
And I think most of the time, like when I learned how to test, I signed with Pro Circuit in 2009, and Bones was we called him Bones. He's the legend at Pro Circuit Suspension. He kind of taught me how to test, right? And I kind of had a bad habit of saying, oh, look, we should, it feels soft, or we should go stiffer, or this, whatever. And I think even more so now, now that I have a lot more knowledge, I can have a tendency to like nitpick those types of things. But I feel like the best guys are just like, it feels like it's doing this, or feels like it's doing this, without saying, hey, put 5 cc's of oil in the forks and take a turn out of the shock and all that stuff.
Yeah, so there's guys that are really good at that. Like Kyle Busch is, grew up racing late models, has always been on asphalt, and he's pretty good at, giving more direct feedback of like, hey, I think we need to do this or this, But then sometimes that can still get you in trouble because you're not an engineer and you don't work on every aspect of the car. And so I think that is one of the biggest aspects of our sport that makes a driver good, is just making sure that you're giving the team the correct feedback. Because a lot of us, I feel like if you put a lot of us, say, on any given weekend, like, hey, this car is the fastest, you could go put any of us in there and we would run close to the same lap times, I feel like. And really? I think all of us kind of feel that way. But
to make it to the level that you're at, there's just not a lot of spots.
Yeah, like, so you throw somebody on any of y'all's bikes, like, you're just like, oh, Jet's bike's the fastest this year. Like, you get on it and you could go pretty close to the same speed. Now, obviously, fitness is a big time difference for y'all over a whole moto, but like as far as lap time wise goes, y'all could probably lay down close to the same thing. And I feel like that's how we are.
And would you say that setup is more important at the level you are now compared to like I don't know, I'm not sure what it's called now, but you race a nationwide
Xfinity
series.
Xfinity
series. Is it more important as the competition gets?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, obviously when you're in the Xfinity series, I felt like a lot of Cup guys came down and ran. They were allowed to run a lot more races when I ran the Xfinity series. So I was racing against anywhere from 7 to 10 Cup guys sometimes a weekend. Now it's less. So I feel like, that part of it is a little bit easier. But yeah, everybody's so good in the Cup Series. Like, no matter what level team you're at or where you're at, like, everybody's good. And so getting those little things right are super important. And so, we race on Sunday. We have a debrief on Tuesday, and we go over everything: practice, qualifying, race adjustments. They write down everything I say on the radio for feedback.
Really?
And we just kind of nitpick it and go through it. And, we found a few things. We found a few things here the last last week, 2 weeks ago, and we looked back at races that we struggled at this year, and they're like, hey, you said this, and this. We found out some things in our sim model were wrong, which, looking at our setup, what you were saying is correct.
Yeah, they kind of cross-reference it with all that data.
Yeah, they can look it back, and you're like, oh, sweet. I'm given the feedback that we need. It's just trying to get it all figured out.
Well, you must have something figured out with that trophy you have sitting behind you.
Super Speedway racing's a little bit different, but it's Speedway racing is like everybody's car is pretty close. Obviously drafting is wild. Trying to set yourself up, block and all that. But
yeah, I grew up pretty much 10 minutes down the street from Daytona.
I
watched NASCAR races before I even watched Supercross.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
Daytona Supercross is probably the coolest thing I've been to.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, that was the craziest shit that I've ever experienced.
Oh yeah, Shane was there.
Too.
Yeah, I gotta.
In my life.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to make a smooth transition to this, but I gotta know what that was like, man. Daytona 500. That is kind of
it was
the
wild.
American dream.
Yeah, it was weird. So obviously we had won Daytona before, the summer race.
Yeah.
And last year we were actually leading within 5 to go and got wrecked in 22. And so I don't know, like I woke up that Sunday morning and I was I felt good.
Oh, those days.
Like you look back at it and you're like, dang, I felt really confident, in the day. Didn't say much about it, but like looking back, I was like, dude, I felt it coming. And yeah, it was like everything went right because I sped on pit road and then
I thought you were screwed when you got the
it put me in the back, but I missed a massive wreck because of it. Everything played out perfectly.
Yeah. And I feel like there has to be some aspect of that in
you got to have some luck at
NASCAR.
Speedway racing.
Right, yeah.
Speedway racing, you got to have more luck than most other tracks, right? And so, yeah, it all just played out perfectly. And then, it got to be at the end of the race and we're restarting in the top 10. And, I kind of have a game plan in my mind of what I want to do. And we get to the backstretch and it works out perfectly. And me and Larson go the inside, take the lead. And then we had to fight off another restart to kind of hold them off. But that next week was wild. I think we averaged 3 hours of sleep.
Dude, he's on
this. How was the after party?
After the race, I will say the way NASCAR does or handles this race and Daytona, it's like nothing I've ever seen before. Victory lane, all that, whatever. And then he has a full schedule for the entire week, 5 minutes after the race is over.
Yeah. You're
all
going
the talk shows.
You're going
everything.
here and here and here. And before COVID, it was even crazier because I don't know, they condensed everything now, with, Zoom calls and, stuff like that. But they always used to tell us to pack a sport coat and be ready if you win to leave Monday morning to go to New York and, stuff like that. But it's a little bit more relaxed now, but yeah, we got done. And
what time did you go to sleep that night?
5 a.m., 4 a.m.?
4 o'clock.
Yeah.
We went to bed, and then we were in Victory Lane at 6:45 that next morning doing interviews Good Morning America.
No way.
And I stayed in Orlando, dude.
He had to drive to Orlando and then come back.
What's wrong with you?
Dude, I didn't. I was I'm just trying to find a cheap
floor.
hotel.
I slept on the
floor. He was going to all his clothes were in Orlando.
Well, and like I said, there's a whole schedule now. So he's doing these talk shows and stuff in the morning, and then Gordon, one of the team owners, took us all to Disney World afterwards. After this. And then after that, they have him go to various other things. We flew back.
Here.
Yeah.
We had to call Ashton and be like,
Yeah, I told poor Ashton. I was like, yeah, I'm not coming home this week.
No way.
Luckily, the Supercross race that weekend was Arlington, so I was going to be home anyways. But
yeah,
it was. I'll let you take it.
But yeah, so we flew back here. We got here. So we went to Disney after our kind of Monday morning at Daytona. We did a ton of media, and then we left there. We went to Disney and rode every single ride.
No way.
Dude, we had a
That's
guy.
the only way to do it.
We had a guy from Disney that was taking us like behind the scenes,
Yeah.
skipping all the lines and stuff. It was crazy.
So we rode every ride and then turned around and left. And we got back here at like 1:30. Then we had to be like, we got to the house at 1:30.
You had to be up at 6.
We got to Concord Airport at like 6 a.m., flew to Chicago, did a bunch of stuff there, came back.
But NASCAR like does all of this. Like they had a plane waiting for us there at the airport at 6 a.m. to go to Chicago and do those other media things.
Because people don't realize that Daytona is its own entity. Like it's such a big deal on its own. You know,
I feel like they do a good job with the Supercross race there too.
Yeah,
like,
it's very
making it like prestigious, right?
Yeah.
I mean, too bad Tomac's still racing. I mean, like
for real, man. Try to beat Tomac at Daytona. I don't think Dale Earnhardt could do that. Yeah. God bless his soul.
No doubt. Yeah, but it was a sick week, and then we ironically flew to California. We were here for a day, then we went to New York, and then came back, and then we flew to California because that was our next race. And
how was the talk show rounds? You like doing that stuff?
It was cool. Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Gotta just embrace it, right?
Yeah. I think back in the day, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it, but, you know, I'm
comes with the territory.
10, 11 years in Cup now and do a lot of that. So it was cool. It was all good, but flew to California and it rained and snowed for like 2 or 3 days. And so all I did was sleep, catch up on sleep.
When was your next race was in California?
The next weekend, yeah.
Really?
We ran Fontana.
How was that?
We were average. I don't really remember how we did.
Yeah, I think you did decent.
It was such a blur.
I can't even imagine how you can come back after that.
Because we always go from Daytona straight to the West Coast. So we run Daytona, and then we went go to Fontana, then Vegas, then Phoenix, and then kind of come back on the East Coast. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind. All year has been super cool. Like, because it was NASCAR's 75th year, and so like you're promoting the sport for a full week, you know, and that's all they're talking about. And like I've had friends win the 500 and like see all this stuff, but like to experience yourself was wild.
And is that the thing as growing up? I mean, is that what you had envisioned for yourself? Like, was that the top of the mountain?
It's weird because like when I grew up, I did not think about. Where are you going, Shane? Oh, dang. Timeout.
No, we'll do fine without it.
When I grew up, and I tell people this all the time, like, I am so, like, whatever I'm doing right now.
Our guy, Shane, man.
Yeah.
Turn
goes
your phone
to the bathroom
off, man. Come
just
on.
to call his wife. No.
Go ahead.
So I was always, like, really big on just focused on what I was doing at that moment.
Yeah.
So, you know, whether it be go-kart racing or sprint car racing, like that's all I wanted to do. And when I got hired to go race for Tony and his sprint car team, I was like, sweet, this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. Like plenty of guys made their living, you know, racing dirt cars. And then all of a sudden there's another opportunity, right? And then all of a sudden I moved to North Carolina. I was like, all right, sure. And then I would say when I moved to North Carolina is when I was like, you know, here we go. Like I want to make it, you know, to Cup and win a championship, win races. And my first 500 was 2012.
Okay.
And so, yeah, since my first 500, I'm like, dang, I've got to win this at some point.
Yeah, it's got to be insane. As you've gotten older, has it been difficult to kind of keep that mindset of living in the moment, or is that just kind of innately how you are?
No, that's just kind of me.
Okay.
Like I don't.
Because I think people can learn a lot from that. You know, I think
like I try not to think too far ahead. And my wife, it frustrates her so bad because I'm like, I can live one day at a time. Yeah. You know, like your team has a lot of your schedule, and luckily she has my schedule now, and so she can kind of look far enough ahead and, you know, kind of plan things. Like when Shane needs something, he, you know, gets with her instead of me. So. Yeah. I need to set Jess up with that. Yeah, I am very just, you know, what am I doing today? That's what I'm going to do. And so it's been like that with my career as well as in racing. And, you know, I feel like it's worked out for me as far as, you know, excelling at, you know, what I was doing right there so that you're not looking too far ahead. So like when I was in the Nationwide Series, I didn't think about going to Cup. I was just, hey, let's go win races. Let's win this championship. And then people would ask you like, "Oh, you ready to go to Cup?" I'm like, if my team tells me, but if they tell me to run another year of Nationwide, I'll do that. And we did. We ran another year, and we got,
you won 2 championships, right?
Back to back, and we were way better the second year. Won 4 more races than we did the year before, and learned a lot and got way better. And then I actually wasn't going to go to Cup in 13. I was going to run 1 more year, but Matt Kenseth had left to go to Gibbs in the off season, and that opened a seat up, and they were like, "Hey."
And so, how old were you? How old were you when you first raced Cup?
2013. 25.
Did you have any other offers from like other teams back then?
No, because I was locked into my contract till.
So you couldn't get out, like you couldn't do anything.
No,
anyways.
yeah, I was pretty locked in. So like that was never even a thought. I guess that'd be kind of a cool spot to be in, like come off 2 championships and like
free agent.
Yeah, that would have been kind of sick. Around. Yeah, that'd have been wild. I don't know. I think I like my my contract that I had. I don't know if I'd want to be sitting there like trying.
Was the driver market like pretty good back then as far as coming out from the Nationwide series, like money wise?
Yeah, I mean it's tough. Like now, like it costs so much to run our sport, right? And there's so many kids that have talent and can do it, and then some have good sponsorship behind them, which kind of sways some owners because it costs so much money to do it, and so. If you have decent, ability and you have some money, it's tough for an owner to turn that down versus like myself. Like I had an agent that, put me in the right spots and I was with Roush, who was, really good at driver development. They always would bring in guys and, give them opportunities. And that was cool. Like I ran 2008, and 2011, like I ran a lot of races with no sponsorship on the car, but like Jack was like, "Hey, I'm going to run you. Like I'm committed to you. I think you can do it." And like I ran some like just blank white cars, no sponsor, just a number.
Like the Ricky Bobby meat, like where he's got the meat on the
line. Like it was just blank white, and that was it. So that was always, to me, I thought that was always pretty special that Jack would want to do that. That took a lot of money to do.
What was the first big purchase you made back then? Like when you started making good money, I would assume probably when you won the championships, right? Like what was the first thing you bought? No car. I mean, you're not like a big, you don't go buy a bunch of stuff.
Jack gave me a Mustang for winning the championship. So like
a new one or old one?
It was new at the time.
Like a Roush
2011, yeah. It was an 11 Roush Mustang, and then I'm trying to think of what. I mean, I did not spend much money at all.
I feel there's so many professional athletes I know, especially in motorsports, cheapest people I've ever met in my life. It's incredible. The amount of riders that we fly into the race and they're just standing there by their bags, like waiting for somebody that they know so they can get a ride to the hotel because they don't want to Uber. They don't want to get a rental car. It's incredible.
I didn't have Uber on my phone. Like I don't know when Uber came out, like kind of mainstream. Like obviously it was around a lot longer before like everybody did it, but I went in 2019. I like had to download the app. That's when I downloaded it.
Late to the party on that one. How'd you get around?
Dude, everybody else. If you don't have the app, you don't have to pay for it.
That is true. That is true.
And so since, we're sitting here getting ready to do the first ever Supercross playoffs tomorrow, how long have you guys been doing your current playoff format?
One race. Oh, the current format?
Yeah.
What was it, 20? It was after.
Probably 16,
yeah, so
17.
Was fairly recent.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like they've always. So they did like the chase for the cup or whatever. Like they would, reset for the last 10 races. I guess similar to what y'all's is for 3 races.
Right. I really don't even know what we're doing. Like in terms of the points being,
you're just gonna go and try. And,
I seriously,
if you win every race,
I'm gonna go win.
If you win every race, you should win. Right.
2 days ago, I thought I was going to Chicago. Straight up.
For real?
Yeah. No, seriously. I thought I was going to Chicago.
Oh my God.
That's awesome. I mean, you are next
amazing.
week.
Yeah,
you were just 1 week off.
Yeah, it was whatever. I mean, Charlotte, Chicago.
Close enough.
Come on.
They started doing like the current, like where we, there's 16 of us, and then so the first round is 3 races, and then the bottom 4 and like the points kind of reset, and then the bottom 4 after 3 races are out, like they can't win a championship. And then you go 3 more races, and then another 4 are out, and then till there's 1 race left, and there's 4 guys standing, and then like straight up, whoever beats who at that race, like you don't have to win the race,
You just have to beat the other
you got to
guys.
beat all the other ones. So it's kind of a wild format. Like I still don't know how. Like when I was in the Nationwide Series, it was like a full season. 2011, 2012, it was like a full season points deal. It wasn't like a playoffs.
Chase or anything.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's wild.
What do you think about it for Supercross? Obviously, kind of big. We don't make changes often in the sport, and when it happens, it's a big deal. So
yeah,
what do you think?
I wasn't too sure about it because y'all ran 1 race last year? Was it last year they had like a?
No, this is the first.
No, I know this is like the playoffs, but like they had this.
We used to have Monster Cup.
The Monster Cup was the closest thing to it, but it really didn't count for anything other than money.
I thought they had like a super motocross race like last year, like a one-off.
No,
like,
back a few years ago, they had an SMX Cup that wasn't involved.
no, like I thought
We did. I think we had a press day at Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's probably what you saw. We had a press day at Los Angeles,
like last October.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But I don't know. I mean, for you, I assume like the SX title is still like.
Yeah. I mean, I think with anything, it's going to take years for it to reach the same amount of prestige.
I mean, how much does it pay?
I think
it's $100,000 a race, right? And then it's $1 million for the overall championship.
It's $100,000 a race from Super Motocross.
That's what from the AMA. I'm pretty sure.
See, I don't know. I just know the overall championship payouts to some degree. It's like $1 million for 450s. It's like
so. I mean, that's
$1,500,000.
But do you get if you won a Supercross championship? I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm assuming Cowie would pay you $1 million, somewhere in the ballpark of that. Is there anything in place right now with people's contracts where they're still going to get a bonus on top of that from the OEM, or is it just up to Feld AMA?
I'd have to call my agent.
Call Steve.
Yeah. I mean, you know how we are. I'm not, obviously I love being compensated for risking my life on a daily basis, but it's not necessarily the focus, but it's an interesting.
So I mean, they've put enough money behind it that it's important, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so that's what they have to do first year to make it mean something. They need to put a lot of money.
Will they ever do more than 3 races?
I think so. I think what it's going to take though, and I don't know this, but I would assume you would have to take away more from Supercross and more from motocross, right? To be able to fit these extra races in. Yeah. Because pro motocross dropped 1 race and then Feld dropped Monster.
So you had an off week last week.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then your playoffs start.
What I've been thinking of lately, and this could be whack, but I think it would be super cool if we did Supercross and outdoors just scattered throughout the year. Yeah.
Kind of like we do. Like we go to short tracks and super speedways and 1.5 miles, right? Like
because the fans, for us doing 17 Supercross races, and it's till week 14 until we get a weekend off. By the 10th round, everybody's kind of like over it. They're waiting for outdoors to start, and then 5 rounds into outdoors, they're waiting for Supercross to start again. So I think it'd be a way to keep the fans engaged. I'm not sure. I'm also a purist to the point of it's tough for me to wrap my head around making changes, like even this playoff thing.
But I guess you got some guys that are like, hey, I'm a Supercross guy. Like I don't do outdoors.
So. I think the weather too. I think the weather would be an issue with that just because of, on the East Coast, like High Point, for example, I'm sure High Point is not exactly raceable in like February, right? I don't know. Like I think that's a big reason why we go to
Texas a lot.
Yeah, so Freestone again.
Freestone in February would be a lot better than June.
Yeah, that'd be sick. We were telling you today we would need to go to Bristol.
So the playoffs, that would be sick. So the playoffs, it's kind of seeded, right? Like ours?
Yeah, it's seeded. So they take your Supercross points and your Pro Motocross points, and then they're combined or whatever, however they do that, and then it resets basically.
So I think I was I think I was fourth overall. But so I'm whoever, it's Chase that's on top, right? He starts with 25 points.
25. Plessinger has like 22. Jed has 20.
I have 18.
Yeah, and then you have 18.
And then it's Olympic scoring for these events.
Yeah, two motos, 2 20-minute motos, Olympic scoring, and then I think.
So we don't get like 25 points to win, or we do?
I don't know. Is it Olympic scoring opposite, or is it?
I really don't know. See, this is things that I'm racing in 2 days, and
you got a press conference.
I mean, you're just gonna go and like do no matter what it is.
Well, it's the same
that's
thing.
all of us, right?
It's the same thing what you talked about, and that like
if it paid nothing, you would still try and like you wouldn't try any different.
Yeah, and it's like most of the time I don't even check the weather before I go to the race because I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna be in the same mindset no matter what. It's kind of the same because I've had a tendency growing up to be a little bit too forward thinking, like plan out a little bit too much. And as I've gotten older, I've learned to kind of be a little bit more how you are. You say you're kind of innately are, just to be in the moment and do everything you can. And that's when I talk about, I thought I was going to Chicago. It's kind of a conscious effort for me to just do my best in each moment because it's just kind of how you have to be. Because also with the schedule how it is, you have to be able to recover off after wins and losses so quickly and move on. I think it's just a way to perform well throughout the year consistently.
I feel like y'all sport is so hard to stay like y'all, like there's not all of us, but like I work out 5-6 days a week and put a lot of effort into it. Now, do I think it directly, like I think I can drive my car just as fast whether I work out or not, right? Like, but I feel like for y'all, it is like one of the number one key ingredients to have a successful career is putting in that work. So like we race on Sundays and if we don't want to work out, we don't really have to, right? Y'all, like mentally, you got to be in it every single day. So like, I feel like on that side of things, y'all's sport is really tough.
Yeah. You guys more so, I think mentally is a lot.
Hydration and mentally. Like, I mean,
you got to be locked in for.
I work out to keep my heart rate down, right?
Yeah.
Just like y'all do. Like, I want my heart rate slower in the car than what it used to be. And I feel like I can make better decisions mentally, which is still similar to y'all, but like y'all are actually like hanging on.
Physically, it's difficult to. Because we're not, obviously we're not trying to peak for one event. We're trying to peak for 7 months at a time.
Yeah.
So inevitably you do a lot of your high volume stuff in the couple months that we have without racing. And then it's all about just trying to maintain. But, you get 3 races in and you sprain your ankle and then you're not riding for 3. Like that happens so often. Even Hunter Lawrence this year, winning the championship in the 250 class outdoors, he had some broken ribs and
Paula,
and they're not riding during the week, and that happens a lot, a lot more than you think. So that's been one thing, especially once you get to the 450 level and you're doing all the Supercross rounds. Obviously, only first time for me doing that this year, but that's
next year we're completing every single one of them,
including Daytona. I might do an extra lap because
they don't know this, but over dinner we were talking that you have not ran a 450.
At Daytona. No,
which is wild.
It is wild. And I was so bummed out this year because I had this little, almost like a sprained wrist before I tried to ride press day in Arlington and I couldn't do it. I had to miss the one damn race I miss is Daytona. And so
race.
Yeah, and it's where my family, I have a lot of family in Florida. They can all come to that one. And the last time I was there, God, it had to be 2017 when I won on the 250.
I think it was, honestly, because you went.
That was a good year at Daytona.
You raced West Coast 250 class after
Maybe
that.
I'm just trying to dodge Tomac, hoping he retires.
Maybe.
I was just at the Monster Sales meeting, and he says he's ready to rip.
Oh, yeah, man. I see him doing calf raises and stuff.
Yeah, we went to the gym together, and I was like, couldn't even tell he tore his Achilles.
Really?
Dude, he was running, and he was doing the Stairmaster and everything.
That guy's built different, dude.
He's Terminator, dude.
Dude, he's wild.
You think he comes out and like the same as he was before next year?
I mean, you can't bet against the guy. I'm definitely not going to sit here and motivate him more by saying I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think he's at the point of his career where I've seen such a shift with him personally, just from the outside looking in, where he's accomplished so much in his status, and he's won all the championships, he's done everything, and he's at a place in his mind now where everything's extra. There's not that pressure like when
it's all just bonus.
Like in 2018, 2019, when he wasn't getting the Supercross championships done, like that pressure started to mount for him. And I feel like once he got over that and just kind of seems to be happy where he's at with the bike and team and doing his thing. And so I think that's dangerous. The fact that, he could come out next year and, say he gets smoked by Jet. I don't think it's really going to kill him. He's a competitor, an athlete, wants to do it, but I just think that he's in a relaxed kind of state, and he's probably just motivated to see what he can do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How old are you?
I am 26. Going to be 27 in October.
Did you ever put an age? Speaking of Tomac, did you ever put an age on I think I can go
30.
30.
Always. It's always been 30.
Really?
Yeah, but I've not so much thought into it. I tell people all
that's just kind of like Supercross.
Yeah, it was
30.
I mean, growing up, it was McGrath. He was the first guy to win a Supercross over the age of 30. I think in 2000. I think that's right. And I'm watching RC. He retired at 27, and so growing
that's
up,
wild.
you're just I guess our shelf life is not that long. And I think that was part of the reason why I wanted to turn pro as young as I did. 16, because I'm man, I really want to do this for as long as I can.
Do you sometimes wish you would have not turned pro so quick, or not really?
No, I don't really play. I've been there before, played that game a little bit, but as I've said plenty this year, it's all worked out exactly how it's supposed to, and it wasn't always great early because I grew a foot. But I turned pro, I was 5'5", and 2 years later, I'm 6'1", It was
what
crazy.
What does that do on the dirt bike?
Well, the biggest thing for me was I was a guy, being a smaller guy, I could always move around the bike a lot and not upset it too much.
Yeah.
And I think it was a bit easier for me physically in that
Which
way.
was like Ricky, right?
Yeah, and a lot of guys really are kind of had that stockier build. And then as I got taller, it's I almost still felt like I was small because I was so small for so long. And so then I'm doing all this body English stuff on the bike, and I'm upsetting the balance of the bike. You're moving so much weight around, and your center of gravity is totally different. And for me, the thing, all my growth plates, all the bones at the growth plates were really soft. So I would be breaking ankles and that kind of stuff and dislocating my shoulders. That was a tough learning curve for me because I was kind of trying to race, get back early, and really going through the early stages of puberty basically and trying to be a professional athlete at the same time. It had its challenges, but I look back now and some of the success I had early, and I look at myself then and I'm like, dude, you had no business being out there. I look like I couldn't even, have my learner's permit.
Dude, you were
it was wild.
Well, I mean, I remember watching. So obviously, I grew up, riding and paying attention and watching Supercross, motocross, and stuff. And I would watch tons of just YouTube videos. And I remember you were always, especially as a kid, on a 80 or 85. Were they 80 still then?
85.
85. And all those videos you would pump out, they were so good. I couldn't.
Yeah, the DC video, the DC.
I was gonna ask you what it's like being in a fly cave.
Being in a what?
Fly cave.
You got to watch the end of the
video.
You
haven't seen the video?
What it was like?
What was it? The Ricky Carmichael video?
Yeah, at his place.
One?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I actually have pretty vivid memories from that trip.
He was
so
just
young.
Yeah, it was funny. It was Townley and Carmichael,
and Tedesco was there too. Yeah, that was a fun
I showed
time.
Shane that and the outtake at the end.
Yeah, I had never seen that one. I had seen the one of you on the 125 with Pastrana, right? Or was that a 250 or 125? I think it was 125.
I don't. Oh, that was 250.
I think it was a DC
no, that was a
video.
250.
250. Yeah, so that was the first video that came out. I think of you on a 250. I believe.
Yeah, it was. DC Shoes was. I was with them for. Man, it felt like 10 years.
You were one of their main guys.
They were responsible for a lot of that kind of
the content,
YouTube hype.
Obviously, Kim is so good at that
videos
stuff, right?
Yeah, and that was just it. Kind of caught it at the perfect time.
Yeah,
created a big hype storm.
That's cool.
So, yeah,
and that's how I found out about you. YouTube. I feel like, yeah.
YouTube.
I still
because like I wasn't like going to like amateur races and stuff, but like
I think most people that come up to me on the weekends are like, "Man, I used to watch your videos all the time." So.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, you're back.
Like you were before. That was before the time.
Well, he's vlogging again now, so the vlog is.
No,
back.
you're vlogging. I'm just living.
Vlogging on his channel.
I'm just living.
Yeah, we're back.
You just film me living.
We're back.
I need somebody to just walk around and film.
You got Lucas now.
I got Lucas.
Yeah, I
got his own guy.
I can't go to all the NASCAR races because I got to do this stuff.
Yeah,
right?
Shane, I hired him. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna come," and then he's like, "Well, I got to be here." And like, clearly, Supercross took precedence, right? And I felt like I never saw him. I'm like, Shane,
that's brutal, dude.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
We need to work this out off camera.
He was like trying to get photos from other photographers at the track.
It's like between him and Chase, dude. It's just never ending.
I bet that's a big old tug of war.
Nah,
that's how I'm same thing when Shane's not at the races. I'm like, man, this NASCAR thing.
This NASCAR thing's got to stop.
It's too much.
Oh no! So he found. Well, he knew a kid named Lucas. That's from. He lives around here. And we were like, oh, we can just, like, he lives here. He can just fly with you and the team. So it makes it easy. So Lucas goes to all the races with him now.
He's Converge's NASCAR.
Yeah, he's our NASCAR affiliate.
Lead. Yeah.
So
Lucas,
I love that.
Lucas is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was, Shane, trying to get Lucas to come to the Supercross race this weekend. And I'm like,
I did.
Dude, he's got to come to Kansas. Like, we're in the playoffs. And he's got Riley and
he wanted to go too. Don't let him lie to you. He wanted to go too. He'd never seen Supercross before. He went today to the track and he was like,
I'd like to go too, but I got a job.
Well, just I'm
gonna watch it on TV.
Fly in Sunday morning. You'll be all right.
So are you in the playoffs now?
Yeah, yeah. We're one race in, so we're 4 points below the cutoff, and ours is just 1 point of position.
Okay.
We ran Darlington last weekend and sped on pit road. Spent.
What's the speed limit on pit road?
So it's 45 miles an hour. You get 5. You get plus 5. So we always try and max it out. So basically, I don't know why they say, hey, you get plus 5. They should just say it's 50. Because we all push it to that, right? And so in one section, like there's a curve section, and in the curve sections, like you can go a little faster because it's not, it's all based off of distance and time.
Yeah.
And so when it's turning, you can go faster. And so like we have a pit road page and it has lights on it. And it's not like F1. We can't just hit a button and go pit road speed. Like we're doing it with the throttle.
Right.
And so
that's got to be tough.
It is.
Hold on. You don't have speedometers though, right? Like you're going
No,
off
it's
of
all based off of RPM, which, RPM.
See, I'm sitting here thinking you had a speedometer the whole time.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, so it's all based off of
math,
stupid. Right? Like RPMs and, what gear you're in and all this stuff. And so we have a page, and I could, like, on the first section of pit road, I could run like 5 red lights. Well, my dash goes green, then you have 2 big red ones, and then it'll flip, and those green lights become red. And so technically you'd be like, oh, you're too fast. We always set it all green for the straight part of pit road because, most of them are straight. But on the corners, you can go a little faster. And so, like, we were like 5 red lights in the first section, down to 3 red lights in the next 2 sections. And then I came into my pit box, and then when I would leave, I would be all green. Well, I was good on my lights, but I was like a half a car width off of the wall. So I shortened it up.
Yep.
And so
That's
spent
like me on
less
Tuesdays,
time.
baby. That's like me on Tuesdays at the practice track.
At the practice track?
Yeah, we're cutting corners all day.
Lap times are looking good.
I'm kidding.
No.
Don't tell Nick.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, and I sped on pit road. And so we spent 3/4 of the race a lap down and just at, 25th, 26th place. Finally, we got back on the lead lap, and we had a good car. Just I kind of put us behind, and so we ended up 16th. Yeah, 16th. And so we're 4 points below the cutoff, but we got Kansas this weekend, Chicago. You said Chicago.
Yeah.
That's
on
Bristol.
me.
Yeah.
That's on me.
We go Kansas, Bristol, which are 2 great racetracks for us. Bristol's my favorite racetrack we go to. I'd like to just win. If you win a race in our playoffs in like that round, you automatically move to the next round.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, you could finish last in 2 of the races and win the third one, and you're going to the next round.
Okay.
So, I feel like Bristol kind of owes us one. We finished second there like 4 or 5
Man,
times.
that race is so cool. How many people can they get in there?
I think it's like 100,000, isn't it? Something crazy
So
like that?
back in the day, like they've
I think
taken
the
some
Roman
seats away.
Coliseum.
I think it used to hold 160.
Dude, that is
And
insane.
it was waiting list only for tickets. Like back in like 2007, 2008.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, there's still a ton of people that go there.
They have football games there too, right?
Just one.
Just one?
Yeah.
Does that one like have that
They
many
did
people?
so, Bristol, Tennessee, half of it is in Tennessee, half of it is in Virginia. And so they did a Tennessee Virginia Tech
That's sick.
football
That's
game
sick.
there. That was wild.
Dang.
So how you feeling for playoffs? You feel good?
I feel good. I like this first round. Darlington was I would say Darlington was probably our worst track for the playoffs because, like, I really like Kansas and I love Bristol. So, for us, I would feel, again, like, I know where we're at team-wise, and we got a lot better this year. Like, we've improved a ton from last year. And so I still think there's a ton of room for us to grow and get better. But I'm also realistic. Like, I don't think we're just going to go out and just win the championship this year. No,
That'd be great.
Crazier things have happened, right?
Yeah.
But, I feel like we can make it out of this round. And then you never know. I mean, Talladega's in the second round. Texas is in the second round. I like both of those. And then, honestly, don't even know what the third round is. But
starting to sound like me.
Find out when we get there.
But, like, for me, I want to, like, our goal was to make it out of the first round, and that's really all we're focused on. We're not worried about the second round. We're not worried about the third round. It was all, like, super focused on this first round, and, let's make it out of the first round. But ours is a little weird. Just because you make it to the third round doesn't mean you stay in the top 12 in points. As soon as you get kicked out of the playoffs, all your points kind of go back to what they kind of were. And so, like, I could get knocked out in this first round, say by 1 point, right? And so, like, I had a good round, but I was close to making it. And then we run 3 more races, and say I finish in the top 5 of every single one of those races, and then the next 4 guys get kicked out. Well, I could be in front of them in points.
But you're still out of it.
But I'm still out of it. Like,
Dang, that sucks.
if you get knocked out in the first round, you can still mathematically finish 5th in points.
Wow.
Weird.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. So, like, even if you get knocked out, like, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah,
like,
still
you
gotta
still
keep
have a
her
lot
moving.
to race for.
Yeah, got you.
Dang.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm stoked to keep rooting for you. I appreciate
yeah.
you. Appreciate you taking the time. I'm glad I made it. I
When
ran from my flight. I just
Charlotte Airport's terrible.
Yeah, I booked it here, so
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Maybe
for
Watch
our-
the
for our
deer.
little
Watch the
podcast.
deer on the way home.
Oh, really?
Sketchy?
There's a lot of deer that run around on the back roads because you'll take back roads all the way to your hotel, probably.
Yeah, I absolutely will. Where are you staying?
The Hilton over by the, I think it's by the track. Where are you at?
Marriott.
Oh.
What do we have to do tomorrow?
You have a press conference at 11 a.m.
11?
And then you
Oh,
have
you get
practice.
to sleep in.
Practice tomorrow for the first
So will
time.
you ride tomorrow? Like, not the bike. I know, like, you'll get on track, but, like, will you do a workout in the morning just to kind of get moving?
I'll do after the press conference. I'll just do 20 minutes on the spin bike,
On the
and
spin
then like
bike.
some activation and stretching and stuff. Nothing too.
Do y'all ever
rocket
do, like,
science.
reaction lights and stuff?
No, not really.
surprised.
Sometimes in the off season, I have some little tools that I use, but not really.
I feel like
we don't really have
a lot
that.
of oval and, like, road course guys. Like, well, I mean, like, you watch the Netflix stuff with, like, Formula One, like, all the reaction, like, stuff that they do before the race. Like, I feel like a lot of, like,
We're just not
race
real
car guys
state
do
of the
that.
art in
not
terms
yet.
of preparation. You know,
Yeah.
all we know how to do is just ride a lot, ride bicycles.
Y'all ride a lot of bikes.
We ride a lot. Yeah,
Just hammer it out. A lot of training.
a lot of
Like,
training.
I'd rather run than ride bikes, I feel like. Because I feel like you get more out of running
in a shorter amount
in
of
a
time.
shorter amount of time.
Well, I have 2 repaired ACLs, so
Gotcha.
yeah.
So we're
it's
riding the bike.
Yeah, we're riding the bike, or we're running a pool, maybe a Pilates class. Anyway, thank you,
Yeah.
Ricky, for taking the
Thanks
time.
for coming up.
Yeah, stoked we got you on. Shane, you're the man. Always running point for us. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening.
Where's Charlotte? When Charlotte?
Saturday.
When Charlotte?
Oh, win Charlotte?
Yeah.
Saturday at 3 p.m.
Saturday.
on Peacock Super Motocross Video Pass.
I'll be watching. I'll be in Kansas, but we get done practicing, and then I'm tuned in.
And then my vlog will be coming on Sunday. So I don't know if you have a YouTube account. Maybe
I
sign
do.
into that.
Yeah, I think I have an account.
Yeah.
I do have an account.
Yep.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
All right. We'll see you on the next one.
See you guys. Thanks.